Welcome back to the walkthrough, where we check off each and every one of the week's most trending topics in real estate. I am your co-host, Byron Lazine, here from Dallas, Texas, along with Eric Simon, the broke agent. And on this edition of the pod, we have joining us once again, fresh out of
jail,
a few weeks of the summit, or a few days, not a few weeks, Dan O'Neill here in Dallas. He is Daniel Deals.
Yes.
Dan O'Neill, ladies and gentlemen. And also,
Daniel.
Returning to the walkthrough, we have Dustin Brohm, the massive agent. We have an enormous and a massive announcement to make at the end of this pod. All right, let's get into it. On the real word this week, I brought up an oldie but goodie. And there was a topic about maybe a year and a half ago on an appraisal where it was a very racial appraisal. Basically, the topic I talked about a year and a half ago was a husband and a wife. One was black, one was white, and they had kids. And so the first appraisal, the black parent and the kids were in the house when the appraiser came. So, and I've seen comments on this like, well, huh? Nobody knows anybody's race when they go to appraise the house. It's like, what are you? I mean, unless they're Stevie Wonder and they're blind, they can see pictures on the wall, and like, come on. So they were home during the appraisal, and the appraisal came in way lower. Then the other spouse, who was white, was there on the second appraisal, and the appraisal came in way, way higher, more in line with where they thought. I put out that real word a year and a half ago, and I went in hard on appraisers, and that generated hundreds of comments because the guy Warren, who's actually here in Dallas, and I saw him today, he's like, dude, he's like, we're doing this debate. He's like, I'm getting some of the key leaders in the appraisal industry, because he's part of this forum on Facebook, and that's why that first real word went so crazy. It got dropped into that Facebook group. And I actually reached out to Warren and I said, hey, drop this one in there too. Like, drop the recap in there.
Is it like an appraisal forum?
It's a bunch of appraisers, yeah.
Sounds like a nightmare forum to be in. God, can't think of a worse Facebook group to be a part of.
Anyways, that's why that one went crazy. I actually ended up having Warren on the next week to kind of talk it through. And, my whole take is, and I've had the same take my entire time in the industry, that appraisers are just worth what they're doing, which is they're one human's opinion.
Yep.
An appraisal is one human being's opinion. I don't value it that much because it's that one human isn't buying the property. I always value the buyer's opinion much more, and I'm not an idiot, although there will be a bunch of comments here that say I am an idiot. I do believe a bank needs to have some type of validation for the money they're lending. Of course, right? And so the problem is these appraisals can come in with these huge variations. And so there was this, and the reason why I brought it back up on this last week's real word, and it's getting similar comments from the last time, is there's been multiple situations. New York Times just reported another situation where you had an appraisal from this is a black family who wanted an appraisal, and it was $472,000. This guy worked at Jonathan Hopkins, and he had a bunch of colleagues.
John Hopkins.
Jonathan
Hopkins. Yeah, like he's your brother or something.
I mean, he worked at John Hopkins or Jonathan.
John Hopkins.
John's Hopkins.
John. Whatever the hell it is, he's
John's
a doctor.
I can't believe I got that wrong too. We're all morons.
I mean,
this guy went to Coastal Carolina.
This guy's a doctor, and so
he had a white colleague. To get in there.
He had a white colleague come to his house, and they did another appraisal. And when the white colleague came to the house for when the appraisal was scheduled, it came in at $750,000. Okay, so wildly different appraisals. Now, my point has been even taking these situations, which are just diabolic, the racial situations, even taking those out of it, you have plenty of situations where appraisals are just all over the place and make no sense.
Yep.
And it's one of the biggest issues in slowing down the buying process for buyers. So I've got a whole bunch of comments that I want to read to you guys and get you guys to react to them. We've got a bunch of comments on the real stuff. That's not where I want to go. So here we go. Frank says he's met appraisers who happen to not be white dudes. Well, 97% of appraisers are white. So that is a statistic, Frank. I'm glad you've bumped into the other 3%. Way to go, pal. Scott, here's one I do want to address is Scott. So 553 in the video, Scott says it's statements like this that reduce your credibility to 0. What I said at 553 on the real word was that if you call an appraiser, and then I want to bat it around on this particular portion. If Dustin's an appraiser and I say, Dustin, I need an appraisal for my home. You're going to ask me a bunch of questions. Well, what's the use, right? If it's just for my personal knowledge, I basically can pick the number. Any number I tell you, you're going to come in on that. I'm paying you a service and you're basically going to hit that number. If it's for a bank, it might be a different number. If it's for a commercial purchase or if it's for an off-market purchase, it might be a different number. If I'm going up, I need to know if I'm going up against an appraiser because I really want to sharpen my pencil. Oftentimes those two appraisers know each other and they're going to chit-chat. They're going to collude on the appraisals. That happens. Oh, that's against what? That's going to happen.
We're getting deep.
So Scott, I've massive credibility when I say this because that's exactly what happens. And that's the point I made at 553. Dustin, do you agree? Do appraisers come in at different numbers depending on use?
Yeah, they do. I mean, even if it's the same damn use and you get 2 appraisals because one's low, the other one comes in high and you just go with the second one. Like it's an opinion. It's an opinion of value. It's
always an opinion of value. When you boil down an appraisal, that's all it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dan?
I mean, I think it should be more based off the market.
Of course, yeah.
As opposed to a singular or subjective.
As a true sales guy, it's a great answer, and I'm aligned with that answer.
Yeah, I mean, it should be based off the market. It shouldn't be just one person's opinion. I mean, if that person wakes up on the wrong side of the bed, they're getting into a fight with their wife or their husband. They show up to the house that morning, and you know what? I'm gonna go 50 grand below, right? Because of the quality or the condition, you know. And even the desk appraisals too. I mean, we had those for a while in New York. I haven't seen them in a couple of months, but they weren't even coming to the house. They weren't even driving by. They're just strictly going off of pictures online from Zillow in 2009.
Weren't they doing drive-by appraisals during COVID too? We just literally drive by the house and just look at it for 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And so Warren, who's
sprint away.
Warren's in the YouTube comments and he says, "Friends, I've sent you my comments privately. I hope you'll at least consider telling the other side of this." I bumped into Warren here. We're in Dallas and he's here and
let's fight him tonight.
And I said, absolutely. and so Warren wants to get a BAM debate going like we did with Ricky Carruth. And he wants to bring actually 2 to 3 different appraisers on. And there's a comment here.
Royal Rumble.
Real Estate Daryl on YouTube. Real Estate Daryl on YouTube wants us to have a black appraiser and a white appraiser come on and talk. It's actually what Warren said as well, bringing in 2 to 3 different backgrounds of appraisers, right? He mentioned one guy that is a thought leader in the space, maybe on this forum that a lot of these comments are coming from, and then some diversity there, so 2 or 3 or whatever. And obviously, I'm going to be on the other side of this debate, but
a healthy debate, not a Royal Rumble.
And that's what we're going to have is a healthy debate when we do this, like Ricky and I had. I think that debate went great.
Great moderator.
And Dan will be back in moderation.
Danny.
No. Maybe we probably should have. We got to figure out a way to have somebody that's not a real estate agent as the moderator.
Sorry.
We'll figure.
I had one appraiser show up obliterated drunk to an appraisal. I was just telling this downstairs. She texted someone the day before, canceled the appraisal the first day because she crashed her car. And then the next day I smelled an enormous amount of booze on her, and she just kept lingering around the house asking me if I was ever going to move back to Arizona. And then I had another appraiser call a street. There was a street called Goshen. He called it like Goshstein or something like that. Like it was like my cousin. And
Cousin Ishmael?
no, seriously, he completely, yeah, Ishmael, exactly. He completely butchered the name of the street. So he wasn't from the area of Brentwood. So he probably had less idea what he was talking about, right?
Mhm.
You also just found your moderator because Eric is not a real estate agent, so you're good.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Eric.
We think I just made those up. I mean, look, I sold for 6 years. So I mean, in my limited experience, I had 2 bad experiences with appraisers.
Yeah, and I think agents have had a lot of. I know I have, when I was in production, I'd have a lot of bad experience with appraisers. Banks, mortgage banks, even are saying that they have lots of bad experience because it's slowing down the process for the buyer, for the consumer. And so what Warren said to me today is like, you get rid of appraisers, it's going to be even worse. Timothy Evans in the YouTube comments, and I'm not even going to read the Instagram comments because they were all in favor of the agent. And so I don't want to be biased here, right? I want to make sure that I'm giving the other side of this. You folks are absolutely clueless on how the appraisal process works. Do you know the unethical AMCs? Do you know how the AMCs choose an appraiser? Starting in 2016, almost all AMC appraisal orders were offered for bids, and the AMC appraisal management companies hire the cheapest and fastest appraiser, no matter their geographical competence. And that's what you're talking about right there, is like you could have, and Tom Tools talked about it on this show, actually, on the walkthrough, where he had an appraiser go from Philadelphia or come into Philadelphia area that was from
Tucson,
Buffalo
Arizona
area,
yeah.
And it's like, and
From
so
Jerusalem.
there's a lot
Make you laugh.
there's a lot of different components to this. I just can't, and maybe through this debate you'll be able to open my eyes a little bit more. I can't get over the fact that it's one person. The definition literally is one person's opinion of value.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're dealing with a marketplace, and yes, the appraiser is taking a lot of considerations from the marketplace into their opinion of the value, I can't say that that's what the home is worth. I cannot say that appraisal holds more than 5% of the weight in the conversation, rather, for what the property's worth, when it's just this one opinion of value.
Mm-hmm.
And when I see these egregious things happen time and time again, where people are getting screwed. For example, the New York Times report on this recent one, the recent article that we just covered on the Real Word, this couple, both black, the couple, both spouses are black, they are suing Loan Depot. They are suing the appraisal company. And it's because when it was at the 472, the rates were down here, right? And then 750, well, they've missed their boat to refi.
Mm.
They can't refi now. So, yeah, they're going to sue and they're going to win.
Good for them. They should.
How should we set up this? Should we do the BAM debate?
Absolutely. Healthy debate, get their various opinions, see their side of things. You can have the entire Facebook group against you, and maybe you have somebody very handsome moderate it. And I think it'll go very well. I mean, the Ricky versus you one was incredible. You got both sides of it. Everybody won. The real estate community won. The industry won.
That's right.
And I think that's what you need to do with this situation again.
I mean, that's what Erica said when the best thing about that debate and the stuff that we do at BAM is like, we want the industry to win and be lifted up.
Yeah.
And educated too.
Yeah.
And let's be fair, there's a lot of realtors that don't have any clue how an appraisal works. So like a lot of their comments are not wrong. Like realtors just see like, oh, it's this antagonist that's like there to screw up the deal. And it feels like that sometimes, but they don't understand the process. So I'll never forget this. I was taking a CE class from this one appraiser, and in hindsight, like he's one of the really good ones. So he explained how like you can never know an exact market value. Like, so they take into account the purchase price, what a willing buyer is willing to pay for that property. And then they look at all the comps. And if the comps support between 700 and 750, and then you have a purchase contract for 740, there's your value. Like if the comps support this range, and then you actually have a contract, there's the value. So that's why a lot of agents will say it's a scam when the appraisals come in right at purchase price. Well, he explained why. Like, that makes sense to me. But
the explanation is the value is what the buyer is willing to pay. That's why I came right on the number.
Yeah.
Because it was in between my range. And
Yeah.
oh, by the way, the buyers want to pay. It's always what the buyers want to pay is the value of the property.
Right.
I mean, if
that's
they're
literally
qualified,
market value.
they've got the money. And we've seen it in the last 2 years. We've seen in the last 2 years why appraisals don't really matter.
Right.
Because how many appraisals were waived? Market demand, buyers willing to pay with the resources and the ability to do it.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I don't need an appraiser. I don't care what their opinion is. I'm moving forward and locking in the property. Dude.
And that's the bank saying that they don't care about the appraisal because it's their money.
Yeah.
And
well, the buyer had to, in the last 2 years, they had to cover that gap.
Waive the gap,
And the bank says, we don't care if you got the cash to cover the gap. Now, like today at the conference, there's now banks, Tomo just mentioned it at the conference, where they're going to be doing an appraisal coverage, solution and product for agents, which is interesting. But yeah, I'd love to know in the comments. I mean, definitely hit the thumbs up button if you want to see the BAM debate number 2, real estate agents versus appraisers, the value of an appraiser. And let us know in the comments what you think that should look like. And I think we're going to put that together in like the next week or two.
Let's do it.
So that I think that's going to happen. All right. We're here in Dallas. Tom Ferry Summit takeaways. What do you got, boys? Let's start with you, Eric.
Well, Dan took copious notes on this
did.
subject, but I got a good takeaway from Jason Pantana. We mentioned this on the show before, but he was talking about SEO on YouTube and just in blogs and how you could utilize posting your Instagrams, your TikToks, and embedding those into blog posts and your YouTube into blog posts, and how that extends the half-life of your actual post. So the Instagram goes up, it gets engagement for about 24 hours. He says, put it on a blog. And that way, like when people are actually searching that subject, like have a really SEO friendly title to like what that subject was about, then your post will have a longer lifespan basically. So he recommended that. And then he was talking about YouTube and YouTube Shorts and how agents can choose words very wisely when they're titling their videos. He mentioned Shannon Gillette, who's an Arizona agent, who I
We
met.
know Shannon.
Yeah, she's great. Had her on Over Ask podcast. And she uses, you laughing at me?
No.
No.
I think he was about to say he watched her on the Byron Lazine podcast. I think I've had her on.
I wasn't going to say either of the.
Dan's
either
never
of those.
watched the Byron Lazine podcast.
Go ahead.
He's an avid listener of Over Ask. And she uses great titles like the best real estate agent in Phoenix or something like that. Like she's really good at titling her YouTube videos for what people are searching. So I don't know, go to her YouTube channel and check it out. But that was a takeaway. And then, that's all I got. I mean,
Dan,
I was
what
there
do you
for
got?
15 minutes.
I have a lot of
I'm kidding. I was
takeaways.
there for a long time.
I have a lot of takeaways. This was the first conference that I was there basically the entire time, sitting front row, taking notes, really actually paying full attention.
I've never
to every
seen Dan
speaker.
so serious in my life.
Yeah.
Been at this
It's
conference.
Daniel Deals.
Daniel
So-
Deals this week.
The last few weeks, thank you, and moving forward as well. But yeah, ton of notes. I did learn a lot, motivated, inspired. It's amazing to see and be in the same room more than anything with other agents. I mean, even like yourself, Byron, who are doing more business than you, who are doing it easier in a more efficient way, and learning those skills and learning what is making their business thrive in the way that it is. Like for me, DJ and Lindsay, they're doing 10,000 units a year, right? But they're still able to go to their son's basketball game and coach their son's football team. Tom Toole's flywheel example, of how his systems, structure, and operations for his team and his business, and how he really lost half of his team 2 years ago during COVID. He was stuck in between am I in production? Am I out of production? I just lost all these agents. So learning how he got his business back on track and seeing how successful he is now was really important to me, because I know now that I have to go back and I have to make changes. And these next few months, as we gear into 2023, this is the time to implement those changes and to correct your business and to get in the right mindset for the next year, because 2022 is almost done.
Yeah, making some of those tough decisions too.
Yes.
In the business.
Yep.
For me, it was actually today watching David Childers. Obviously, they're a big supporter of this show. KCM supports the show. You can check out their link and check out their all their good stuff down below. But David had the chart up. I mean, he's the chart master. We love using his charts on the show. And he had one in particular chart that shows how many buyers or how big the millennial generation actually is, right? And I brought it up actually today when we were talking with David a little bit, where it's like, I don't care what happens to interest rates, the market, the recession word that we keep hearing over and over again, when there's so many of these millennials that are going to be a situation where life says, I need to buy a house. I mean, I know for me, I need a bigger house right now because I've got 2 kids that are driving me nuts. And like when I spent the summer in Florida, we have 2 levels, 2 floors in our house in Florida. In Connecticut, over the summer. It was so nice to have 2 levels, to be able to hide from these animals. I love my little girls. Actually, somebody stopped me today. He said, why on your personal Facebook post did you call them animals? Did you mean angels? I said, no, I meant animals, because that's what they are. And I need the 2
Byron's
floors
the only person that would
in Florida.
make a Facebook status calling his kids animals.
So,
It's
He
ridiculous.
doesn't like animals either.
He hates animals. Yeah. This guy's evil.
Yeah.
I have 1 floor.
It is evil Leia right now.
You get a lot of single level living in Florida, and we're gonna buy a 2-story house in Florida because it's that house. It's that 20-year house that we need. Dustin, you and I were talking about that. It's like the 20-year house to get through high school and probably even their college years, whatever. And there's so many people in the millennial generation that haven't even had kids. Bobby, just in this room, our video producer, Bobby, he's in an apartment. Well, his wife's pregnant. She's due. They're going to be buying a house. That's going to doesn't matter if the interest rate goes to 5 to 6 to 6.5 to houses are high, they're low, they're this or that. They're going to buy a house. Eric's getting married next year.
March.
Next comes
March.
Yeah, next year.
Yeah. You get your save the date?
Next
Of course I did.
Link below.
Yeah.
So-
link below, save the date for the wedding.
The next step after the marriage is they're going to buy a house. I mean, it's just going to these things are going to happen. And there's so many people in that generation. So while you keep hearing recession, meaning, the definition of this recession is that there's less and less sales. We're going to see 4.8 million homes sell this year instead of the 6 million. And let's show the chart of how big this millennial generation is. Just remember how many more buyers are just coming in 2023, 2024, 2025. There's going to be plenty of deals out there. And definitely get this data so that you can, if somebody's like, do I need to sell right now? I really need the house for another year. Just educate them on how many more buyers are going to be coming down the line. Show them some of this information. Bobby, if you do it one more time,
It's ridiculous.
like walk over
You're
2
literally
steps.
waving
David has no idea. Look, he's
I mean,
no clue.
if, I
no
wish we had a
idea.
camera on you 2. I mean, are you
It's like a
sleeping over there,
clown
by the
show
way?
behind me.
I'm intrigued by this whole conversation.
I mean, so we've got
This guy's
Dave. How old
passed
are you?
out.
26.
Dave's another one of the video producers here, and Bobby's trying to get his attention. I would have rather you tackled him than do what you were doing because
He
it's
was
so
waving
distracting.
like this. Like,
Oh my God.
like he's a third grader.
And then you
Throw a paper airplane at him next time. My God.
But if I can talk and then still see that, if this was a Madden game, your awareness would be a 12. Okay.
That's why I didn't play football.
Video games every night.
That's why I don't play football. That's
All right.
great
What do you
answer.
need? What do you need to tell Dave? Just tell him.
What do you need? I just clicked it 5 minutes ago.
All right. Gee, I mean, this has just turned into
This
the
is
most
devolved.
insane production. All
This,
right.
this is devolved.
You weren't at the. You're in town. We got something to talk about for that. But you weren't at the TF Summit, so
Right.
no takeaway for you.
So I do have a takeaway. Like,
All right.
So driving through downtown Dallas last night, seeing Tom's name on the side of a goddamn building, like it's impressive as hell what he's built.
Yeah.
I respect it. And I mean, he gets a lot of shit from people for not ever having been an agent, but he's obviously made a pretty big impact on a lot of people in order to build this brand. So it's awesome. It's
He
impressive.
really means it. We just had Mark Davidson in the room before we started. If you know Mark, he's a co-founder of 1000 Watt. And I mean, he said it right there. It's like Tom actually wants to help agents 100%.
Sure.
What am I doing a photo? What you were coughing and then now.
I don't ever
I mean, we always say we're the barstool of real estate. Now I actually feel like because of this one production, we are the barstool.
When I'm the
Yeah.
most mature person in this room, that's when you know that, except for Dustin.
speaking of Barstool, we had our first bash last night. Eric,
It was.
how'd it go?
It was an epic rager.
The BAM bash.
It was everything I
2022.
wanted it to be and more. There was a line out the door. It was the who's who of
Oh,
real estate douchebags. Not douchebags. I don't know why I said that. My brain just malfunctioned right there. I literally didn't
What
mean
is
that at
happening?
all.
it was the Instagram cool kids.
I
Of
don't know
real
why I
estate.
said. Oh my god.
Yeah,
I meant.
Oh my God. Say that again.
I haven't
Maybe
eaten
cut it,
anything
right?
today. Yeah.
there's a bunch of fucking
It
assholes.
was the who's who. Who's who sounds like a douchebag thing to say. So I was calling myself a
Get
douchebag.
this kid an
Eric-
applesauce,
Eric
huh?
is the-
Oh my God.
All of our friends were there. It was an incredible time. I did some stupid dance moves. I did the robot move a couple times where I looked foolish. But I had a blast. I was worried about it for the last couple weeks. Couldn't stop thinking about it. But I mean, the party was massive. It was great. That's all I got.
It was a great party, and we're gonna do a bigger one next year. That was just like the first initial taste of what BAM bashes can be in the future and what the BAM events can be in the future. We got some pretty cool stuff coming up.
People were getting hammered at this thing. It was.
You instructed them to do
I
so.
did in my
Yeah.
speech,
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
pathetic
Okay.
speech. I did say
They
that.
followed directions.
But it was just so fun seeing everybody have so much fun, and that it was like us hosting it. You know, I've been to so many of these happy hours and so many of these parties, and just seeing how happy everybody was, and people were dancing and stuff. Like this was from 6 to 9. Usually this stuff happens from 9 to 11, like at the hoedown or whatever tonight. But 6 to 9, people came straight from the conference right to our party, and they absolutely raged.
And a really big special thank you to PropStream and Refer, who
Yeah.
helped us throw that party. We couldn't have actually thrown such a crazy wild party without them. Although I did get an extra bill last night. I just signed it. And so then the guy, I said, I don't know if this is right. I said, we paid, X amount before. He's like, no, it's right. How about I get you a little glass of 1942 to help you sign the
Oh, it was
thing.
next year.
That's what he said.
That was like a $6,000 bill too.
Yeah, that was an extra.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God.
After what we already paid
Mm-hmm.
last night, when I said, hey, are we good? Like, what do we got to do here? Do I have to do anything? He's like, oh, yeah, I'll get you your final bill. And it was like another $6,000. But,
Yeah.
Jesus.
when you encouraged everyone to keep, pouring liquor
Well-
directly down their throat.
Well,
I
we
think
had
that's
a
what
allotted
happened.
amount of drink tickets, so that
Yeah.
wouldn't have any effect on that. They were
Yeah,
paying.
but there was
with it.
so many people trying to get to the bar. I just think that the whole drink ticket situation went out the window at some
Yeah.
point
Like
last night.
The rain didn't help. It forced everybody inside.
Yeah.
And
It only rained for like 10 minutes. It was
Oh.
kind of cool though. Like cooled down.
I'll tell you
Yeah.
Sick
what.
venue too.
It,
Yeah,
it
the venue
was
was incredible.
I want to thank everybody who did come, and I apologize. Like I know some people actually didn't even get in because it got to max capacity, but we're gonna have more. We really, really appreciate you guys like supporting this and being passionate about it, and just all the conversations I had with people that were like, dude, we love what's going on with BAM. Like the fact that you guys are putting out relevant news, and the amount of people that were like, this content is really helping me. It's like where I go to get the educational content. I was really blown away that like people were going deep on how they're consuming the content. That was really cool to have those conversations.
To see a bunch of the Refer Network and my followers and our followers in person too is really cool, because there's a lot of people I see in the comments and in DMs that I've been friends with for 7 years. Not friends with, but that I've had digital communication with. And seeing them and saying like, oh my God, I can't believe how much this has evolved. Like I remember following you in 2016 when you were just posting pictures of like your dead open house sheet. And now it's like an actual physical thing.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool to see.
And so
Right, Dan?
it's like because of all of you guys that definitely hit the thumbs up button if you've been following the Broke Agent and you're following BAM now and like you really just love this stuff. Obviously, just smash that thumbs up button if you're listening to this pod and smash it for this dude, because I think it's because of all of you guys, like how cool this BAM community is and building up to be. It's reasons like that why we get awesome people who I've admired for a long time, like Dustin, to bring his podcast, the Massive Agent podcast, over to BAM. And we announced that last night, man.
yeah, it's exciting. You mentioned how the content helps people. Once I started to see how you guys were like when I think it was, I first heard you mention broke agent media, and I didn't really know what that meant. But then when I saw the rollout and saw how you guys were doing content and the video, and it's like, it's news and it's opinion, and it's like, what the hell the news even means. Like, you do it in an entertaining way that has personality, so people will actually consume it, and then they'll actually retain it. Like, so much of the crap that agents get, like, they read the headline that comes in the daily email, and that's it. Like, because they know if they click, first off, it's behind a paywall. Second, if they make it past the paywall, they can't understand half the shit in there anyways. It's not relatable. It's written by smart people,
We're morons.
Right. So you guys are total idiots, and but so are the rest of us. Right. So it's all very relatable and
by the common man for the common man.
Yes.
But I think
of course, I was just saying,
pretty cool. We've got some other, like shows coming over here in the future, but you've built up something very special. You've been doing this podcast for 240 plus episodes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Every single week since January 2018.
Yeah.
You haven't missed. You've really built something special. This is an asset, and you've won awards, and you've done a really good job. And you're like downloads. I mean, if you probably know Massive Agent, you probably know them from Apple podcasts or Spotify podcasts. The download numbers are incredible. The review numbers on both are incredible. It's a great pod.
Thank you.
And for you to say, hey, I want to be part of BAM with this pod and this content. So we're dropping it next week, right?
That's right.
By the way, Dustin came up with BAM.
Yeah.
Remember that this is like in a text conversation.
I'll take
Dustin's
credit,
the one
but I do not recall this.
I don't recall it either.
Yeah.
I remember more.
Am I just pulling this out of
No,
my head?
let's run with this.
I remember.
No,
I remember you coming up with it, and I remember the reaction that Tom Ferry had to it.
Right.
He was like, "You guys have to go with that."
I think we were having a text conversation, and I said broke agent media, and then you said BAM, and then we ran with BAM.
Okay.
Dustin
I remember that.
probably just meant like BAM. Like BAM.
Possibly,
And then
yeah.
it was like
I
just
was
happened
trying to get the orange boom emoji, and I misspelled it, and here we are.
Here we are. Yes.
Yeah.
Dustin, you're brilliant, by the way. Wait, what a name.
Yeah. Right.
Well,
I mean, who would
maybe
have
this
thought-
conversation
who would have
didn't
thought
happen based off of this reaction.
I think Eric
Maybe.
has crypto amnesia.
Mark Davidson,
amnesia.
he
It's not even a thing.
he loves it.
Yes, it is.
He
Amnesia's
absolutely
the thing,
loves
not
the name
crypto
BAM,
amnesia.
and he's helped Zillow with their brand. He's helped Loop. Like, he's worked on big brands. He has not, helped us with building BAM, but he's like, love the name.
Yeah.
So,
It's an
and I've always loved Massive Agent. So congrats, man. I can't wait to see the launch next week. So look
Thank
for
you.
that next week. The Massive Agent podcast on the BAM network next Thursday. So a week from today, it'll be up first thing in the morning. The article on BAM on brokeagentmedia.com, as well as everywhere you normally would listen. Those links will be down below here in the show since we're announcing it, and also on YouTube. So make sure you subscribe. Really appreciate you guys checking out the walkthrough. For Danny, for Dustin, and for Eric, I'll see you next week.